Turk Sheikh came out and said no more of this Tom and Jerry thing in the sport of boxing, I didn't really give my thoughts on it, but I already knew what it meant. Basically, what Turkey Sheikh was saying was, okay, so we got one guy who could move around really well, hit not get hit type of guy. And then you got another guy who just kind of come forward, maybe slow, plodding, power punching guy. They can't catch this guy. They can't touch him with confetti. They can't catch him. That can sometimes make for a boring fight. And now he's trying to eliminate. I'm not sure if he can quite do that, right? I'm not sure if that quite works unless they start taking points away from guys from not engaging in the action, quote unquote, right? But moving around the ring, right? So that's literally trying to change the game of boxing. Like, that always been a thing in the sport of boxing. This is not a tough man competition or anything like that. It's the sweet science. They call it the sweet science for a reason. And more times than none, you're going to get in there with a guy that's going to be on his back foot boxing, trying to box, right? Of course, you got a lot of boxer punchers today, guys that can box, and they kind of come to fight as well. But you can't take away one aspect of the game just because a lot of guys aren't able to really do things to make it a fight, right? Naoya Inoue, one of his more recent opponents, was moving around the ring a lot. Naoya was having a little bit of trouble. And Naoya Inoue was staying consistent, and he eventually caught the dude and stopped him, right? He eventually caught him and stopped him. Dude, he took chase, and he eventually caught and stopped the dude. But then you got other guys that can't do this, apparently, right? And one guy may just sit back and not throw punches just to play it safe, just to get the victory, even though they sometimes don't get the victory. But for me, it's just one of those things to where they're trying to give one side an advantage, honestly, right? For sake for entertainment purposes, right? They're mostly doing this for guys who may be less physically or athletically gifted, right? Guys that got cement shoes on, guys with 2 left feet, guys that can't really move around the ring. Guys that can't move around the ring. Now, would this play an effect on how fighters approach fights? Of course, Stevenson got a fight coming up July 12th against William Zepeda.
Agreement. He's fighting David Morrell on July the 12th. I can tell you one thing that's changed, and this is not me breaking any confidentiality or privacy agreements in the contract. But I tell you what, I agree with His Excellency, because that ring now has been reduced to 18 foot. It ain't a 20-foot ring.
Yeah.
Because guess what? We all want to see fighters fight, and I'm really happy that ring now for July 12th is an 18 by 18 ring, internal, inside the ropes.
Yes.
That's going to make guys fight, not want to run and use basically,
every
inch of the ring. We're down to 18-foot ring now.
Absolutely.
I'm really happy about that, because my guy is a pressure guy.
William Zepeda is a fighter, Mexican fighter, traditional Mexican fighter attitude, wants to bang, throws a lot of punches, got some good power. He wants Shakur Stevenson to stand in front of him. Now, Shakur Stevenson isn't necessarily a fighter, except for the fight with Edmund De Los Santos. If you be honest about Shakur Stevenson, he's usually right in the pocket with these guys, and they can't touch this dude. Now, it was the fight with, maybe the first fight, the fight with Nakatalia and De Los Santos, he moved. It was boring fights, really boring fights for Shakur. And De Los Santos is arguably one of the most boring fights of that year, right? But sometimes we see fights, right? Sometimes we see fights where these guys are throwing punches, but it's still a boring fight, right? Like some of the fights the past weekend on the Keyshawn Davis locker room brawl card. Some of those fights was boring. Fans was boring. These good dudes was fighting. They was punching and stuff, but the fans were still bored. Boo! You know what I'm saying? So it just depends on what type of action that we're getting. And I think if it's too I think it depends on the fighters as well, who these fighters are. Fans will be a little bit more patient if they know a particular fighter is going to come in there in the box. They'll be a little bit more patient about it because they know this is what this guy likely going to do. But if it's some unknown guys, fans going to want to really press for the action a lot sooner. But you can't control the game in that kind of way, in my opinion. You can't just say, stop doing this, you know what I'm saying? Because it's making it a boring fight. We've seen boring fights when guys throwing punches. Dudes missing, looking sloppy, clumsy. So, yeah, that's for the guys that got cement shoes on, that can't cut off the ring, that can't catch a guy if they wanted to. That's for that. This is for so those guys can have an advantage. This is almost like making the ring size a size smaller than the normal size. This is like making that the standard. You know what I'm saying? So he's eliminating a fighter who may be a back foot fighter, an out boxer. They pretty much saying, no, you can't do that no more. So, I mean, honestly, I don't totally disagree with it, because sometimes dudes do take advantage of that, right? They'll take advantage of it and then not really try to fight. You know what I'm saying? I do get that part. Like, bro, if you're going to be doing that, throw punches. Because we know what's going to happen depending on who you fighting against. You got to throw some punches, bro. They go still, even though you're making this dude look like he crazy, making him look like he's 2 years behind you, they go still give it to this dude. Why? Because, well, he's the more popular guy. And he's pressing the action. Even though he's not even landing anything. And you got to throw punches, bro. So, I mean, it's just one of those things, man. Turki Sheikh is doing quite a bit, though. He's not trying to have no Tom and Jerry type fights on his card. I believe Manny Pacquiao chimed in on it. Said some of his best fights were the action fights, where guys wasn't able to run around a ring like Floyd was able to do. But it's just the fact that Manny Pacquiao it wasn't able to catch him. You know what I'm saying? Floyd was able to kind of hit him when he wanted to. You know what I'm saying? I think Floyd Mayweather was a lot timid in that fight than he has been in any fight. He was very timid. I think Floyd could have threw more punches in the fight and still kept that same approach to the fight. But, it's one of those things to where, the stakes was really high and Floyd didn't want to make no mistakes. So, I don't know, man. It made for a really boring fight. Sometimes boring fights happen, man. And I think the guys that's more counter punchers, the boxer guys, the outboxers, I think they really get the heat of the criticism when it comes to boring fights in boxing. But tell me what you guys think. Do you agree with Turki Sheikh? Should they eliminate the quote-unquote runners in boxing? Like, subscribe, holla at your boy. Peace out.